When you think motion pictures, you think of Hollywood. It would be surprising to most to find out that the motion pictures industry actually started in Chicago in the late 1800s. Thomas Edison, along with his assistant William Dixon, had been working on an invention to accompany his phonograph, which recorded voices and sounds. He wanted to do for the eye what the phonograph does for the ear. His invention would combine recorded sounds and pictures and would be called the kinetoscope. The kinetoscope was showcased at the 1893 Chicago Columbian Exposition, where it was met with great enthusiasm. Edison considered the kinetoscope a toy, though, and not a valuable invention. It was here that George K. Spohr was inspired by the kinetoscope, but thought with some changes it could be improved. The kinetoscope used small photographic images to create the illusion of motion through reflected light in a rotating cylinder. It wasn't until Eastman Company started producing celluloid films that were long enough and sturdy that the kinetoscope took a new importance. Edison took up patents on the kinetoscope and other inventions, and soon a viewer could look in a peephole with a magnifying glass inside a cabinet to see a moving picture. Using Edison's basic design but making a number of alterations on it, Spohr created the magnoscope, which could project films onto a flat surface. In 1907, George Spohr and a man named G.M. Anderson established the S&A Studios in Chicago. The name combined the first two letters of the men's last names. This company would grow to be the largest film company in the world before the rise of Hollywood. Spohr and Anderson installed, operated, and rented the magnoscope to theaters all over town. Anderson was also an actor and loved to act in westerns. S&A Studios produced many westerns and even opened branches in Boulder, Colorado and Fremont, California, because it had ideal weather and environment for this. As S&A grew to become the film capital of Chicago in the early 1900s, they hired notable actors like Charlie Chaplin and Gloria Swanson. Both went on to become famous on the silver screen. Swanson also went on to do television as well. Charlie Chaplin was a silent screen movie star that was famous for his comedies. He was paid $1,250 a week and produced 26 shorts and one full-length film called His New Job. Although Chaplin's films were a success, he ended up leaving Chicago just months after he had started. Chaplin credited this to delays in producing films quickly and the cold and unstable weather in Chicago. He moved out to California in search of a better offer. S&A replaced Chaplin with another actor, but unfortunately he and the others were not as popular as Chaplin, which brought far less success to S&A's new films. Chicago's rise as a leader of the film industry in the early 1900s was due mainly to the new technological advancements made on Edison's patented kinetoscope that allowed a single viewer the ability to watch a film through a small window in the box. Filmmakers in Chicago began to design and patent their own improvements that allowed films to be projected onto large screens so that larger audiences could view a film together. Studios such as S&A, the Biograph, and the Vitagraph all began to design and patent their own projectors and equipment. It wasn't long before the Edison Manufacturing Company took notice and began legal action against the studios. Edison's company claimed the studios were showing the films illegally because their improvised projectors violated the kinetoscope patent. This resulted in years of court battles. In the meantime, black market projectors were being sold and used in the theaters to continue to show films. The Motion Picture Patent Company, MPPC, was soon established on January 1, 1909 by Thomas Edison and his company to take control of the use of all projectors and equipment, altered or not. Edison wanted to make sure he received a portion of all profits from the use of this equipment. The company created a trust of all studios in the United States, which in Chicago included S&A Studios, the Vitagraph Company, the Selig Polyscope Company, and the Klein Company. The agreement allowed only these companies to make movie, and they had to pay royalties to Edison's company when using any improvised projectors or equipment. To reduce competition, theaters had to pay $2 to $10 a week in rental fees for the use of films and projection equipment. Independent filmmakers and companies resisted these new restrictions and soon formed the International Projecting and Producing Company to fight the Motion Picture Patent Company. They operated independently of the MPPC but risked being sued at any time. Chicago had more theaters per person than any other city in the U.S. Nickelodeons and 5-cent theaters were extremely popular and increasingly grew, up until the Great Depression of the late 1920s. Part of the reason for Chicago's booming film industry was due to rental houses or exchanges that let people rent movies at a reduced cost. This revolutionized the industry. Now theaters could change their movies often and bring in a wide variety of films as well, keeping the public interested. Chicago quickly became the leading film distribution market in the world. It controlled 80% of the market in the beginning of the 1900s. Movie production also boomed with companies like SNA and Select Polyscope employing hundreds of people and producing hundreds of movies every year. They often filmed outside due to the better lighting and often occupied many city blocks when filming. They also filmed on the lakefront when filming the westerns SNA was so famous for. By the 1920s, the Chicago film industry began to decline for many reasons. First and foremost, the rise of the independent film companies in response to the Motion Picture Patent Company tremendously competed with the bigger and more established film companies like SNA. These independents gave their actors more creative freedom and had less regulations set upon them than did the larger film companies. Since they were not paying royalties or rental fees, they also had a better financial hold of the profits than the larger firms. Most of the independent film companies eventually left for California in the end because they could escape the reach of the major production companies and the Motion Picture Patents Company litigation for patent violation. Being so far away made it difficult for Edison and other companies to control their business. Here they would not be limited by regulations and penalties, and they could practice filmmaking under their own rules. The Chicago climate also played a large role in the decline of the Chicago film industry. Cold, unpredictable weather made it hard to shoot most of the year, thus limiting filming capabilities greatly. The monotonous landscape of the Chicago prairies could not compete with the landscape of the western U.S. like California that had a diverse landscape that ranged from snowy mountains to warm beach terrain. In the end, Chicago had developed an innovative and original industry that offered entertainment and a view of the world to the common man. Unfortunately, greed, competition, and an unpredictable weather environment forced the industry to move to a place where it could thrive and continue to grow and evolve without man-made obstacles that only held their industry back. When one man or company seeks to limit innovation and exploration, it sets back progress for all men. Man has always added to his predecessor's knowledge to better technology. If that is limited, then all progress of man ceases to exist.